Hi, it's Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, I made a video for premium members here on a possible Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron third fight. And some of you have responded and said, hey, Eddie Hearn says that fight's not happening. There were contractual issues and what have you. Well, that's fine. That video stands, right? I believe eventually Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron, because of market demand, are going to meet for a third time. I'm going to try to be aggressive here going forward, and I'm going to try to talk about fights that may or may not happen. Right? The goal here is to know which side of the play you're going to be on. So if the fight is announced, you can take advantage of early lines. Right? We'll update videos based on new information as needed. Now let's talk about a fight that's being discussed. It's Manny Pacquiao, and I'm giving him top billing here, even though he hasn't fought in years. It's Manny Pacquiao against Conor Benn. Now, let's be clear here. Manny Pacquiao, to this boxing fan, is one of the dominant fighters of my life, right? His fight against David Diaz. I would encourage people to look at that fight. Diaz was the champ at 135 pounds. Still shocks me. Pacquiao, a smaller man, was simply too fast, too accurate, and hit too hard for, frankly, at the time, one of the better champions, David Diaz. Right? Pacquiao lifted Diaz's lightweight title. Now, it would be jarring, and it is jarring, but it would be even more jarring were it not for the fact that Pacquiao then repeated that level of performance, and it's a rare level, against Oscar De La Hoya, Hall of Famer, at 147 pounds. If you looked up all-time great in a boxing encyclopedia and saw Pacquiao's photo, you'd nod your head. You already understand that he is one of the best ever. He doesn't need a public relations department. It just is what it is. Now, he's now facing his biggest opponent, Father Time. Right? That's the only issue on this fight. Father Time has jumped on Pacquiao's back, as Father Time is going to jump on each of our backs. Right? But even with Father Time on Pacquiao's back, I believe Manny Pacquiao beats Conor Benn. Folks, he's just too fast. I understand Pacquiao's older now. He's just too fast. He's one of the fastest fighters I've ever seen. Foot speed, hand speed, suddenness. He simply is too fast. Also understand, power is the last to go. Right? I have no doubt, none, in my mind, that Mike Tyson's power is still going to be there for his Jake Paul fight. Right? In my opinion, Pacquiao today hits harder than Conor Benn. Right? So, to me, Pacquiao is the betting side of the play. Understand, too, Conor Benn, orthodox fighter. Manny Pacquiao's a southpaw. You couple Pacquiao's hand speed and power with the fact that he's a southpaw. And for an orthodox fighter like Conor Benn, that's going to be hard to deal with for at least the first half of the fight. Understand, Pacquiao, as he was leaving the building, fought Keith Thurman. Right? Keith Thurman has no alibis, none whatsoever, for the fact that he got knocked down early in that fight. Now, I consider Thurman to be one of the better fighters I've come across. Just understand, even a fighter like Keith Thurman, who I think of more highly than Conor Benn, hit the canvas early. Thurman does make a comeback in that fight. I think Thurman is a future Hall of Famer, even though I think he has problems in his next fight. But just understand, Pacquiao is so hard to deal with early that you have little margin of error. Even if you're a fighter on Keith Thurman's level, one slip-up leaves you on the canvas. Now let's focus on 3 of Pacquiao's losses and just talk about the fight style that gives Manny Pacquiao problems. Erik Morales, El Terrible. Folks, he's a Hall of Famer. Right? Understand, El Terrible is really the fighter who puts out the blueprint for how to deal with Manny Pacquiao. Right? El Terrible knew how to expose Pacquiao's, we'll call it lesser developed right hand. Right? Pacquiao's left hand is on par with Deontay Wilder's right hand. Folks, that's as good as there is in boxing. Right? Pacquiao's left. But Pacquiao's right hand, a little bit underdeveloped. But you have to be a great fighter to be able to bring that out. I mean, a great fighter. Well, El Terrible is a great fighter. He's a Hall of Famer. That's the level it takes, folks. Great back foot. Great patience. In other words, there are times in the fight where Pacquiao jumps in and he's just faster than El Terrible. The level of fighter who can give Pacquiao problems is an El Terrible, who can stay in the pocket, weather the storm, be prepared to land counters, be prepared to find a way to roll away from Pacquiao's left hand. Right? In the heavyweight division right now, you have a guy like this. Joe Parker, who just beat Deontay Wilder and who just beat Zhilei Zhang. Right? Parker's a guy who understands. Wilder's right. I've got to find a way to survive that. Zhang's left. I have to find a way to survive that. Right? Well, just understand, Erik Morales found a way to survive for one fight. Manny Pacquiao straight left. Another guy who beat Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Hall of Famer. Same thing as Erik Morales, with even better defense. A third guy, Yordenis Ugas. Same thing. Ugas is a better fighter than we realize. Right? The problem with Ugas lately has been injuries. Now, all 3 were elite counterpunchers who could weather Pacquiao's hand speed without running away from the pocket. There are very few fights where a guy has been able to beat Pacquiao, and I'm talking about the current Pacquiao, not the guy who lost to Torrealba as a young guy, on their front foot. Somehow, Timothy Bradley did so. Folks, that's rare. Timothy Bradley, of course, Hall of Famer. Right? Now, I believe Conor Benn has been an ambush fighter for most of his boxing career. He won't be able to regulate the pacing of the fight like the great fighters I've named. Right? He wants to jump in the pocket and have a firefight with you. He wants you on your back foot. He wants to be the hunter. He wants you to be the prey. When's the time you have seen that with Manny Pacquiao? Right? Juan Manuel Marquez is the guy who, to me, has figured out how to master Pacquiao the best. Folks, it took Marquez 4 fights to figure that out. Right? And understand, Marquez is on his back foot. Right? Marquez, again, Hall of Fame level. So, forgive me, but I see Manny Pacquiao in his 40s. against a young guy who is still trying to establish himself. Right? Understand, Conor Benn's last fight went the distance against a guy who is a bit of a journeyman. I believe the public's going to be fooled by this. I think they're going to equate Manny Pacquiao with a fighter I still think could be competitive, Evander Holyfield, who got blown out in his last fight. Right? I think the feeling is because in part of that Holyfield fight, we feel these old guys can't compete. I think the public's wrong here. I think Manny Pacquiao, especially against an opponent who has to come to him to be effective, right? Conor Benn can't make a Floyd Mayweather decision or an Eric Morales decision and say, okay, I'm going to have Pacquiao come to me. An Ugas decision, a Marquez decision, right, folks? Those are for masters, right? Those guys can say, okay, I'm going to have this guy come to me. Right? It's like the baseball hitter, Barry Bonds, who says, okay, I'm going to let this fastball pitcher throw fastballs. I'm ready for them. I don't have to wait for off-speed pitches. I think Conor Benn would be in over his head. I think the public would be astonished here. Understand, if Pacquiao has lost some hand speed because he is older, well, if there's a fighter in boxing history who has hand speed to lose, it's Manny Pacquiao, who has some of the fastest hands I've ever seen in my life. Right? So I think Pacquiao's power, the fact that he's a southpaw, the fact that he has vastly more elite experience than Conor Benn would be the difference in the fight. I'd be one of those old-timers when this fight is announced, trying to jump on the Pacquiao side of the line if he's going off at a minus 200 or lower. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. I'm taking the old guy. I'm taking the southpaw. I'm taking the obvious Hall of Famer in this fight. I look forward to your thoughts. Thanks for stopping by.